Come on, let's go. Hey GNA Nation, it's Jess from WGNA. We're here with our friends at VCA Shaker Animal Hospital, and we're going to learn about common pet illnesses, how to recognize them, and how to treat them. Hi, Dr. Patrick.
Hi, Jess. How are you today?
I'm good. Could you help me with some problems that Philly's having?
Oh, absolutely. I'd love to talk to you about that. Why don't we go into one of our exam rooms?
Okay.
And we can have a discussion.
Sounds good. So, Dr. Patrick, Philly's kind of been vomiting and having a little bit of diarrhea. I don't know what I should do and when he should go to the vet.
Oh, goodness. That's never a fun problem to have, is it, Philly? So dogs can vomit and have diarrhea for quite a number of different reasons. And some of those reasons are significant and should be seen very soon by a veterinarian. And sometimes it's not so bad. So one of the questions that I always ask whenever I have a patient who's experiencing some vomiting is, are they a happy vomiter or if they are a sad vomiter?
Interesting.
So if a dog has thrown up once, maybe twice, but is acting completely fine, running around, happy, willing to eat, can eat and hold food down or drink water and hold that down, I might wait a day or so and see perhaps they were just upset to their stomach, maybe scarf something in the yard that made them a little queasy, and see if they get over it on their own. But if they're a sad vomiter, say if they're throwing up and not willing to eat, or as soon as they eat, throw it right back up, sort of isolating themselves from the family, lying around, groaning, seems in pain,
Aww.
They should be seen very soon by a veterinarian. A lot of times, dogs can get sick to their stomach and end up with vomiting or diarrhea from things that they do eat outside. They can eat dirt or dead animals outside.
Sure.
They can pick up leaves or sticks in their mouth that might have something on it that would make them sick to their stomachs. But then there's also some other concerns that can be brought on very quickly in dogs that can be severe. And one of those causes some very severe vomiting or gagging, and that's referred to as bloat or gastric torsion. And that's a disease that can come on very quickly in deep-chested dogs like Great Danes, St. Bernards,
so bigger dogs?
Shepherds, big dogs. And that is an emergency situation. So if you have a deep-chested, large breed dog that suddenly is vomiting or retching, that should be seen immediately by a veterinarian.
Whether or not he's happy or sad?
Most of the time when they're doing that, they get pretty sad pretty quick. You can also see that they're pretty tense in their abdomens and very painful.
I know sometimes when my dog kind of seems to have an upset stomach, she goes and starts to eat grass. Now, is that a good thing, a bad thing? Is that something I should be nervous about?
Not necessarily something to be nervous about. A lot of dogs will eat grass. Sometimes they'll eat it when they're sick to their stomachs. Sometimes they just like a little salad, especially in the spring when the grass is fresh and new. A lot of dogs will just go out and eat some grass because they like to. But if your dog is acting not like himself, vomiting, eating grass, seems upset to the stomach, give your veterinarian a call.
So if they're vomiting or have some sort of diarrhea, is there something I can do at home to stop that, if it's the happy kind?
If they're having just a little bit of diarrhea and you can say, oh, maybe he ate something the other day or got a little bit of table food, and they're still happy and eating okay, you might want to try mixing a little cooked white rice into their food. That may help stop some mild intermittent diarrhea. But if they're not feeling well, not eating normally, and if they're acting very sad, or if the diarrhea continues for more than a day, you should really see your veterinarian to find out what's happening and if there's something that can be done to stop that diarrhea. Diarrhea, especially in small breed dogs, just like Philly, can cause dehydration pretty quickly.
Sure.
And you don't want your friend to get dehydrated.
Is there anything you can do if maybe they are getting dehydrated to make sure they get the water they need?
Not at home. We don't want to give them things like Pedialyte or Ensure. The flavorings can make them even more sick to their stomach, so that's something that you should probably avoid. And if it's getting to the point with vomiting and diarrhea that you're concerned about dehydration, they really should be seen by a veterinarian.
And there's also some times when he's sneezing and coughing. Could that be allergies? Do dogs get allergies?
Dogs certainly can get allergies, but those usually present either from sneezing or some skin itchiness. So I wouldn't necessarily think a dog that was having coughing issues has allergies. That could indicate a more serious type problem. Respiratory asthma is pretty rare in dogs. It is more common in cats, though.
Oh, that's interesting. And if that's something that maybe they're sneezing too much, I also should bring them to the vet?
Yeah, a little bit of sneezing here and there, just like you or me when the spring, when pollen starts to come into the air, can be normal. But if there's excessive sneezing, mucus when they sneeze, they should be seen by a veterinarian soon.
Because the summer months are coming up, I was thinking of boarding him. Is there anything I should really do beforehand or look into where I'm boarding him?
Oh, absolutely. Boarding facilities can be really great and really fun for the dogs. They really like to see other ones.
Play date.
But again, we have to think about it almost like a daycare where you have lots of different animals from lots of different backgrounds in a very small amount of space. And so you want to make sure that you vaccinate your dog for respiratory infections before they go to boarding, such as Bordetella and canine influenza. You also want to make sure that they're up to date on their rabies vaccines and their distemper parvo vaccinations. And those are some of the things that you should be asking the boarding facility about prior to making your reservation. Ask the boarding facility what veterinary vaccines and requirements do they need to have before, because you don't want to go somewhere that doesn't require any vaccines, because then you don't know the status and the health status of the dogs coming in. I mean, certainly you can know Philly's health status and what vaccines he's had, but you don't know what those other dogs could be carrying, and you want to make sure that Philly's protected. Another thing that would be important to ask a boarding facility is if they require a negative fecal test, because in boarding facilities, most dogs are going to be defecating in the same areas. And if one dog has worms, that can be easily passed on to another dog. So you want to ask to make sure that they do require a negative fecal test prior to the admitting for boarding.
That's something I never would have thought of.
Yeah.
It's so interesting because the more you're describing it, I don't have kids, but it's very similar to having a kid and putting a kid in daycare.
It really is similar. You know, we want to make sure that everybody's healthy, that nobody's carrying an infectious disease that somebody else is going to pick up, or even intestinal parasites.
And even though I don't have human kids, this dog, it's like having a kid.
Super baby.
You're so cute. So we were talking before about boarding, and I have heard of something called kennel cough. Is that something they can get in that type of situation? I think of kennel boarding similar.
Kennel cough is sort of a layman's term for a Bordetella infection, and Bordetella is one of the vaccines that we would always give to a dog before that they're going to be in a boarding situation. But also, we recommend dogs who go to play groups and groomers, they get the Bordetella vaccine too, because in those situations, you can have a lot of dogs in a small amount of space as well.
So is that just a vaccine they get one time? Is that a yearly thing?
Initially, when a Bordetella vaccine is given, it's very similar to other vaccines, and they would get an initial dose followed by a booster in about a month, and then it would be an annual vaccine that they should receive.
And how would I know that my dog has kennel cough? What does that sound like?
Yeah, kennel cough typically shows up 5 to 14 days after they've been exposed to it, and it shows up as a honking cough, a really dry, persistent cough. Sometimes it sounds like they're trying to vomit at the end of a cough session, and it's a little phlegm coming up. Usually it doesn't come out of their mouth and they swallow it, but it can kind of sound like a choke at the end of a cough.
And is that something that once I hear, immediately to the vet?
Yes, because you want to get that treated with medication.
The Pet Professors is brought to you by VCA Shaker Animal Hospital in conjunction with VCA's Animal Health Center.